Good evening and Christian greetings to each of you tonight. CASP, Ocracoke, Outer Banks, North Carolina, the South, February. Sounds inviting. Oh. Yes, lots of rain. As you think about Ocracoke, how many of you knew where Ocracoke was before we went? Did anybody know where it was? Do you know where it is now? Where is it? You're listening. Just checking. You're listening. Ocracoke, I was asked by a friend of mine where we were going, and I said to the Ocracoke Island. And he said, that sounds like some southern drink. I said, well, I don't think it is. There was a lot of water, but there was, it really wasn't a drink. And Ocracoke Island, and we'll show pictures. It's out on the Outer Banks. It's an island. It's about, I think it's about 13 miles long and about 3 miles wide at the widest. And probably the first 11 mile, there's nothing. As you get off the ferry and you head south and you get to the bottom end of the island is where the habitation is. That's where the people are. And that is about a 3 mile, cross and about a 3 mile circle that these people live in. And during the hurricane of Dorian, that entire island was underwater for about 10 hours. Not a lot of wind damage, but it was mostly flood damage. And they say that, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and so we'll describe that in pictures. Ocracoke was a little bit of a different twist for us. This was the 6th time that we had gone on the project, and this was a stretch as far as housing, far as the accommodations. Initially, we were told that we were going to stay in 2 different houses. And I didn't know what that would entail because I had no idea what you consider a house down there. I didn't really know. But then about a month before we went, they said they got a base that was the Methodist, I believe it was the United Methodist Church, had been operating out of it. And they kind of disbanded for various reasons that are neither here nor there. And so they were able to move into that. And I thought, it was called a lodge. And so you think of Ocracoke, the Outer Banks, a lodge, the lights went on, that this is really going to be nice. Well, it was a Masonic lodge. And it was quite different and what you think of a lodge. But anyhow, we had 12 boys, and as you will see in the pictures, that our accommodations were very, very small and very tight. Actually, 2 of the couples, we had a different crew. The board put together a different set of staff that we weren't together before. Luke and Rhonda were with us as they've been before, but then Ken and Gina Schrock from Kansas was the other crew leader, and then Tasha Yoder from Light of Truth. She was the domestics girl, and the board put that together. And so it was new for them coming there. And so as we were trying to adjust to all this, there wasn't enough room for all of us to be at the base. And so they had rented a house for Luke's and Ken's and Tosh to stay in, which was about a half a mile from the base where we were the headquarters. And so Faye and I, we were, I almost said stuck with the boys, but no, we weren't stuck with the boys. We were privileged to be with the boys. And so we were there as staff alone with the guys, and it worked out very well, but it was very small. You will see that. The quarters were very tight, but I will have to say this much, that the attitude of the boys was tremendous, and that played into the whole functionality of everything and how it worked. I remember one morning Jason Stahl from Michigan, in his devotional, I think it was in his devotional prayer that one morning as we were meeting there, and he just said, Lord, just help us not to be grumpy. And that was so fitting for the conditions that we found ourselves in so often because of the rain, and there was just nothing to do. There was no place for the guys to go to play volleyball, or they couldn't even go play, I can't even think. That where you throw those bags of cornhole. And they couldn't even do that because it was too wet. And you'll see the pictures. I mean, they're just water all the time, everywhere. And so we know what water is on the island and in the ocean. This island is 16 miles out from the Outer Banks, and so it's pretty much isolated. When you're there, you're there. And we just left the island one time to restock our food supply. We took basically everything with us when we went. We went off the island. There was no lumber yard on the island, so all the lumber had to be shipped down, and so we always had to order ahead of time to make sure that it got there. And so it was quite a different stretch. One of the things that kind of threw us for a curve, normally we would have had 3 crew leaders, but due to the fact that Cam had told us that they were going to have a personnel on the project that was going to be there full-time. And so he was going to be kind of the person acting as the coordinator, getting the lumber ordered and that kind of thing, looking after finding jobs and those kind of things. And we thought, well, we didn't need the third person. And so the board decided not to send the third person. Well, we got there, and the coordinator was there when we got there, but on Wednesday morning of the first week, he left, he went home, and he didn't come back until Thursday before we come home on Friday. And so we were without a job coordinator for the 4 weeks that we were there. But it worked out okay. It threw us a curve a bit. We were a little short-handed on staff, but it worked out okay. Our jobs were reasonably close. You couldn't go too far from each other. We could walk from one job to the next, so it wasn't a big problem. As I think about CASP, I think about the teachings of Jesus in Matthew chapter 25, following the parable of the sheep and the goats. He talks about relationships. And he says in verse 24, he says, Then shall the king say unto them on the right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat, and I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. And I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, nor naked, and clothed thee? And when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. In our experience with the CASP program, you just have opportunity to serve, and you serve people. And they are of all levels of status, or whatever you want to call it. Many of them are poor because they don't have much that in these houses. Some of them in our community, we would probably take the D8 and just remove them and start over. But there, they try to salvage what they have and try to put something together that is within reasonable expenditures. And so as I think about that, you know, when we serve other people, we're doing it as we're doing it unto the Lord. And that is key, because it's not our work, it's His work. And our responsibility is to aid and give assistance to those that are hurting and those that are destitute. My wife said she doesn't have anything to really say. She just cooked, but that was important. And I'll give you some numbers following the slideshow. In our wrap-up meeting, I put together some things, what the boys did, the hours they accumulated, the meals that they ate, and all of that, and give you a little bit of an idea that of what goes on there. With that, I think we'll go ahead and we'll have the slide presentation, and then I'm open for any questions that you may have at the end. So. This is where it all begins. Right here, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into getting things round up. You feel like, I don't know. I almost said garbage collector when you're going through pushing one cart and pulling another, but that's part of it. And this is our trailer. It's loaded to the hilt, and we are thankful for everything that was donated by the different churches and all the funds that came in. It's greatly appreciated. This is the morning that we left, and we always leave in a snowstorm. That is part of it. Let me get that out of the way. As you can see. Now, Ocracoke is right here. And we had to go through Virginia and come down through here, and we crossed over at Kitty Hawk. And then we brought this road down, all the way down here. It's about 2.5 hours, all the way down here to Hatteras. And there we got the ferry and went over, docked. It's about an hour ferry ride over here to Ocracoke. And then we had about a half-hour drive all the way down to right here is where the people were on part of the island. This is the ocean as we were right there at Kitty Hawk. This was the first morning after we were leaving Kitty Hawk and headed south. It was quite vicious. They remove sand like we remove snow. The roads are often covered with sand coming in off the ocean, and they literally use a track hose and payloaders to move that sand, and they put up these sandbags just to keep the ocean from washing in over across the road that goes down through there. And there's times where you can't go one way or another because there's water over the road. This is the ferry, and it goes every hour on the hour, and it will not wait for anybody. We were about 2 minutes behind Luke's, and we told them, we're coming, tell them just to wait, and they said, we will not wait, and they did not wait. We had to wait another hour for the next ferry. And this is going across the bay, the Sound, which is on the interior side of the island. And this is on the ferry. This is when we get to Ocracoke. It's a sign that welcomes you in. This is a map of the town, and this is the road that comes down in here, and these are just the different streets, and we were located right there. And that's all the streets in the town right there. And there's approximately, I heard two different numbers, 800 to 1,100 people that live there year-round. But on a good day, in the summertime, there could be up to 10,000 people on the island. because it is a tourist island, and there are 1,600 houses to rent, beach houses to rent, and so it is, the tourist is a big part of their income. This is our lodge that we were so excited about. It was, yeah, and the lot was probably about, again, as wide as that building, and it just wasn't much there. And this is one of the boys from Minnesota. He called me and wanted to know what the logo is going to be, and I said, well, that we haven't figured out. And so he just made this up and put it on their vehicles. So he advertised all the way from northern Minnesota to Ocracoke. This is the storage room inside of the lodge. What they did, it was a big open building. They took all the benches and seats out of it, and they put partitions and they made bedrooms in this lodge. This is Friday evening after the staff is all here. You see, this is Ken and Gina Schrock. This is Tasha Yoder. Of course, I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. My wife said, don't forget to tell them it's cold in there. Yeah, we didn't have any heat, and it was not very comfortable. You can see we have our coats on. This is Luke, and his wife Rhonda is right there. And that is Larry Strite. He was our supposedly coordinator. This is Sunday morning, our church service, and Chad Wengard and his wife Erica were there for the weekend, and he is the board chairman. And that is the biggest room that we had. And that's where we ate. That's where we had our services. That's where we had our recreation. Yeah, it was close quarters. We put staff on our door, my wife's and I's bedroom. Well, we soon learned that these boys have a sense of humor. They came along and said, Rod and staff. Well, we didn't say much about that. Then it became mom and dad, and that's the way it was the rest of the time. This is the kitchen. As you can see, that's the entire kitchen. We'll show you some more pictures. It's probably about, I'd say, 8 feet by 12 feet, and you had to mark out your space and stay there. This is just at the end of the food line. We tried to follow some protocols. As you bring in 12 boys and 6 people from staff or 7 from different areas, we tried to do all the precautions that we could. And we did not have any sickness at all. And we really thank the Lord for that. Now, there you go. You had to pick your spot, get in your spot, and do not move. And you did not throw any elbows, or you were doing them by yourself. This is just an evening of recreation. They're playing games, and this is, like I said, in our little mess hall there, you'd call it. Just some social time. This is the boys' dorm. They had 3 double bunks in each room. And so can you imagine 6 guys in a room that is about 10 by 12? But we did not do that. We spread them out. We had 3 guys in each room, and it worked out pretty good, really. But there's groups that had 6 guys in each room, and I don't see how they did it. But anyhow, this was our abode. This is our Marriott here. Speaking of water, this is the first Monday morning, and Tosh went over to the laundry trailer to do laundry, and she came back and she said, I can't get in. There's water. So I had to go to the hardware store and buy her boots so she could wade into the laundry. This is the interior of the laundry. There was 3 washers, but the middle one didn't work, and so we had 2 good washers and 4 dryers. Worked out pretty good, actually. And that's her sorting the laundry, sweeping the floor. That's the laundry table. Ring a bell. We had mercy on Tosh. We rented her a golf cart that she could take back and forth to the laundromat, and that was her on her laundry day right there. And that was typical. She would run around the roads. And you notice, I don't think we have another picture, but right this little trailer here is the guy's shower. There's 4 shower stalls in that trailer, and it was a boot camp. There was no heat in there. And so they hurried up and showered. This is the guys. I probably wouldn't go through there. We had guys from Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Ohio. Yeah, some of them got their pants wet that day. This is out at the ocean. This is the staff. This is the one house that we finished. It's called Bill's house. We were able to have a dedication service there. This is the house that it was just so muddy. You couldn't even get around to walk up the ramp. And so one day, if you know Luke, you know he thought he would just pole vault over here. And he got up on top and he did the balancing act on it, and he couldn't get over. And the guys caught him, and they never left him forget that episode. This is the guys working on the house there. They had to do some siding, put in new windows. You can see that it's cold. It's not the sunny south. There's Jason on the outside doing some installation. There's the inside. Put siding on, doing some siding. They even write their names on because they know it's going to get covered up. And there it is. That's the finished product. And we were able to have dedication with Bill. Although he did not move in it, he was a very sick man. And I'll show you a picture of the dedication later on. This is the second house. This is Jenny's house. As we go through there, you're going to see these houses in the different weeks of progress. So we're going to be bouncing back and forth. These houses started out on the second floor. They build everything on pilings. Those pilings are like, I think they're either 10 by 10s or 12 by 12s posts that are put down in the sand about 8 feet, and there's no concrete on the bottom of them. And the way they put them in is that they got a machine that pumps water and forces it down into the sand, and it soups up the sand. And as the sand gets soupy, they put these pilings down in, and when they get them set right where they want them, then they just let the water drain away, and they are in there like they're in concrete. It's interesting to watch them do that. This is just a picture out across the sound from that house. If you just walked out from that house to the pier, this is what you saw. This is a house of, this is Ella's house. You notice the wheelchair ramp. We'll see another picture of it. It looks like a cattle chute. They really beefed that one up. I don't know what they were going to roll down there, but it's made to stay. Their dumpsters all come with Brennies. It's just the way they do it down there. Putting some closet doors in Ella's house, and I think they missed. This is a little bit of the artistic ability of our boys. You notice this right over here became our logo right here. This right here became our logo. That is the ferry. These right here are the dolphins. They saw dolphins. And that there is, I can't think right now, but this is the golf cart. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but so you see the shape of the island. We would dock here, then we'd have to drive all the way down, and this is where the people live down in this area down here. Oh, yeah. Here's Conservative Anabaptist Snacking Program. No. Thomas had a birthday when we were there. It was the youngest average age group of any of the groups that we ever were with. I would say they probably didn't average much more than 20 in age. The oldest was 21. Just sitting around having a snack. This is the Jenny's house. We'll call it Jenny's house. Putting in the floor joists, putting down the sheeting, and just getting ready to set walls. And there's Mr. Luke. And there's our tool trailer. There they're setting walls on Jenny's house. It's just a shot across the bay. We did teaching projects on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Ken taught welding, and he had to make the disc grills. He cut out all the parts and had the boys weld them together and paint them, and they really enjoyed that. And of course, Luke taught on reading blueprints, doing electrical work, and that kind of thing. That's Luke teaching right there, and this is another shot of Ken's work project. And we did that underneath the house where the staff stayed. We were able to move in underneath there, and it worked out really well. There's a disc right there with the handles on it. Monday nights we had singing, and Jeremiah Stauffer from northern Minnesota was in charge of that. Really a good bunch of boys singing. They really did well. This is the staff house that we rented, and it would shake in the wind. If you were in there and it was windy, you knew it. There's nothing stable with those pilings. Just playing games. A lot of times in the evening we would go over there Sunday evenings, because in the staff house they had more room to socialize and more comfortable chairs. And then playing games, just having a good time together. This is the interior of the lodge. This is the hallway, the boys cleaning our trucks on Saturday. This is the tool trailer. Cape Hatteras, Faye and I went over to first Saturday. Yeah, we went out to the ocean, and it was so cold there just wasn't much to do, and it certainly wasn't appealing to be out by the water, even though they ventured in. We didn't know what to do. There was a school right there beside the laundry trailer that had been destroyed, and it was open. The whole wall was open, and it was just empty. And so my wife was talking to the sheriff one day, and there was a miscommunication. I'll just say that right up front. She had reference to this building, and he was thinking of something else. And he said, well, sure, you can do that. There's lights. There's no problem. So our guys went over there. They swept this building. They even moved some things around so they could put up a net, and they played a couple games of basketball, and they were setting up the volleyball net. And the sheriff came along and says, oh, no, he said, I can't let you in here. I mean, he felt horrible, but he had reference to the outside basketball court. Well, okay, you can't play basketball when it's raining outside. So anyhow, it was a struggle to have things for the boys to do. Went out to eat on Saturday night. There was only one restaurant open on Ocracoke called Jason's, and so we patronized that 2 Saturday evenings. And this is just sitting around conversing. This is Joshua. From northern Minnesota. He would come around singing, it's a beautiful day to be happy. And it just put everybody in a good mood. The boys cleaning. This is back at Jenny's house again. Notice the stairway and the deck. This is a flooring that we had to put in Ella's house. And doors, closets on the doors for the closets, to get it said right. This is Ella's house. They had to paint it. And this is Lisa's house, and that's Isaiah Bowman from Michigan. He builds log homes, so he was quite handy with a chainsaw and did an excellent job of notching the posts so we could put the prim rafters on, or prim joists. This is just to mark the different levels of flooding that they had. This is different hurricanes all the way up. This is Matthew, and now this is Dorian. Right there is the next picture. Yeah. That's how high the water was at this point on the island. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. This is on the front porch in promoting the wearing of masks. And this is yours truly and trying to keep the paperwork caught up and everything rolling. Cook's happy, and they seem to be happy. Here again, a shot of the kitchen and food. This is Levon Miller from McConnellsville. He brought a load of trusses down for 3 houses for us. He brought 3 sets of trusses down on one load. The boys painting. Unfortunately, they painted all day, and then they discovered they used the wrong paint. And it was interior latex, and they were supposed to use exterior oil base, and so they had to repaint it. There the boys are painting. There, that's a picture of that wheelchair ramp. Setting trusses on, is this Lisa's house? Is it Jenny's house? Okay. Yeah, it is. Couldn't see, but that's Jenny's house there. Putting the roof on. This is in the second week. And the extra trusses, we had to take them over to another job, so we just moved them with a lift. Went down the street. There's break time. Just an interior shot. These are the interior walls. Building the deck, their steps. And that's the way you hauled lumber. If it's hung out too far, you just put about 3 guys in on the other end of it to hold it down, and we could move lumber that way. We had a fish fry for the guys one night, and we tried to do it outside. It was too windy, so we ended up moving into Cam's trailer or kitchen that was there, and this is what it was right here. Okay, just a night of puzzle. The boys playing spike ball in our mess hall. Here they're setting floor joists. This is at Lisa's house. This is a different house here. This one here we started. Yeah, this is back at Jenny's house here. Putting the roof. Now, this is the bitter end. This goes back to Lisa's house. Back here, we had to start from the pilings there as well and set walls. And we got this house all the way up to ready for electrical and plumbing before we left. It was all under roof. Another evening of classes, just a collection of shoes, time of sharing. This is the one Saturday, we always tried to do something with the guys on Saturday to give them an impression of the area. Well, we got an impression, all right. But it just rained all day and just was miserable. And finally, I called the fella that had the rental, and I said that if there's any window, could we rent a couple golf carts just for the guys to run around the island, just to give them something to do. And he said sure, he'd come over. So he let us rent a couple golf carts, and we just hammered around the island for a couple hours. This is Jason's restaurant that we patronized. This was just the weekend that Keith Weaver was there. Would have been the middle weekend that he came down. He's also on the board, preached for us that Sunday. Playing games. I mean, the boys were very adaptable. I mean, all the way around. Playing spike ball in the hall, very adaptable. And, of course, Valentine's Day was there. This is our yard. Yeah, just mud, water, slop. I mean, it was just plumb miserable. And a few people hit that stuff and ended up down there looking up. I mean, it just was slippery and all get out. Water, just some of these, like this road right here, I don't know as if I seen it completely dry any time that we were there. This intersection always had water in it. It was just miserable. Rain. 18.5 inches or so of rain. Here again, just another shot of the. Oh, is that Monday morning? Okay. My wife said this is another Monday morning. So usually it rained like every weekend. It rained all day Saturday and Sunday. And now they found a pair of somebody's cutoffs or something. Just the typical scene of driving down through the streets in town, just covered with water. This is a common sight. This house was about 3 feet off the ground, and they took it and jacked it up, and you'll see the pilings that they put in underneath here. They're all the way around. And when we left, this house was back down on, and it's very interesting to watch them jack these houses. On the side of the truck, I'm not sure, I didn't count them, but I would say there was at least 10 or 12 different controls, and he could control every jack from the side of his truck, and they were all run by hydraulic, and he would just raise that house right up, and it was a big business right there. This is just a shot of the lodge, and this is the cook trailer right here that we did use sometimes, not a lot, we didn't use it much. But Cam had put that in there to help out. Just a typical shot of our lawn. See, you know why we couldn't play cornhole. Our property only went over to about right in there. And this building back here we were not allowed to use. And so the only thing that we used here was the lodge. And so we were pretty cramped. Packing lunches. Just opened the door to get some ventilation. Typical. This is the day that Faye and I went up to Hatteras, actually went north of Hatteras off the island to do some grocery shopping. And we did some scouting around to see what we could do with the boys while we were up there, at least on one Saturday, but we did finally find a few things that we could do. And just same old, setting walls. This is, but this is at Lisa's house here. No, it's Jenny's house. That's right. Yep. Putting siding on. Yep. Oh, one day they decided they'd like to have Mexican food, and they had these food trucks on the island, and there's a church up in, Traverse City Mennonite Church, sent the group a nice amount of money and said that we should all go out to eat. So the boys decided they were going to order from this food truck and have Mexican food, and so that was quite an experience. And they brought them back to the base to have lunch that day. This is siding on Lisa's house, or Jenny's house. This is just the typical picture. That's a duck boat hunting. Duck hunting down there is really big. So that's camouflaged with all those reeds on it. That's a boat. Back in the kitchen. That making hot chocolate to take out to the boys, and they really welcomed that. Yeah, you saw that ladder there. Well, Jeremiah grabbed that 16-quart kettle with no lid on it with hot chocolate and just walked right straight up that ladder with it. And it was raining, and my wife's umbrella wasn't very waterproof. Just the guys hanging out. And here again, you can see the pond that we have. This is a street. And of course that is the laundry trailer. Oh, ochre cats. There's lots of them down there. If you like cats, you will like Ocracoke Island. These cats are feral, they're wild or whatever, but they take care of them. And you just drive down the street and you'll have all these kind of huts, and these cats live in there. And they feed them like they're theirs, but they're not. They're just loose cats. The cooks decided that they needed a little extracurricular activity and had a little fire in their stove, enough to make the fire alarm go off in the building. And so they did manage to get it out before too much damage happened. Nothing really happened, but this is the sheriff that was there. He came and spoke to us. Well, actually, we went to the community center, and he met us there. And he talked for probably close to 2.5 hours. The night he was on the island, the night the water came in, and he said you could just see it coming up. And he said some places it was like 6 feet deep. But he said it came up, and it lasted about 10 hours. In 10 hours, it was all gone again. But he said there was very little wind. It was all from the high tide from the ocean. This is Justin Vanar from Minnesota. He's doing his cleaning. And this is the Ken and Gina decided to cook breakfast for us all on the disc grills that they made. And so you can see them there, that they made breakfast that morning. A couple of the guys doing dishes. A couple of them walking down. This is the Ocracoke Island Lighthouse. This is, do you hear a wild pony island or wild ponies on these islands? They don't let them run wild anymore. They have them in corrals because of all the tourists and the traffic. They keep them penned up. No, this is Bobby. He was our cat there at the base. He hung around there, and there was a lady that stopped in there every day with cat food and fed him, and he was well fed. This is our last Saturday that we were there. We went over to Ocracoke, or Hatteras, to spend the day. We went to the graveyard of the Atlantic Museum. It talks about all the shipwrecks because of the shipping channels there. They thought that Josh looked like that guy in the picture there. That guy there is actually, it's a photo, and they thought he might have looked like him. And it says here, $1 a question, fire away. And that's what he was advertising. This is the Hatteras Lighthouse. It's beautiful. And they moved that. It was out close to the ocean, and they moved it about 1,000 feet. They jacked it up and put it on rails and rollers, and they rolled that thing to where it is today. This is at a seafood restaurant over in Hatteras that we found that was open on Saturday night from 4 to 8 or something like that. So we decided to let the boys feast on fish and seafood. Sunset. This is on the ferry, or getting ready to get on the ferry. This is just some housing along the right by the ferry. They used every inch of the ovens. So just some random shots here of the activity. They decided one more don't hurt. And I don't know if the bottom one hurt or not, but cooks in the kitchen, supplies. This is the dedication. This is Bill. See him in the car. I think he has cancer, and they're not sure if he'll ever be able to move into his house, but he was able to come out to the dedication. And so the boys sang, and we had a dedication prayer for him in the house, and it was a good opportunity. I found these kind of a certificate to give to the homeowners as a remembrance of us being there. And this is at the other one. This is Ella's house. And the man right here is Ivy. He's the pastor of the Assembly of God Church, and he was a key player there. He kind of looked after the finances for all the work that is being done, and he really filled in the gap of the coordinator that Cam didn't have there for us. He was a good man. This is just us on the group. It was so cold. You would have thought we were Christmas caroling in Ohio. I mean, it was cold. Just the typical sunset over the ocean. Saw lots of those. This is some social activity. My wife doing our laundry. This is Lisa's house. Yeah, this is Jenny's house. This is where we left it. It was all plumbed, electrical, insulated. It was ready for drywall for the next group. See the plumbing underneath. This is Lisa's house. This house was ready for electrical when we left. Oops, I wasn't paying attention very well. This is Jenny's house, pretty much complete on the outside. I don't know what Thomas was doing there, but he was swinging a big hammer inside of Jenny's house, building the steps, finishing up the siding. This is at Lisa's house here, I believe. This is the departure. Everybody left on Friday morning, and this is waiting in line except us, so we had to stay back, and I'll show you what we did. They left, and this is waiting to get on the ferry. We had to make sure that everything was cleaned out, all the food was gathered up, and everything else in between. This is a pile of dirt that we managed to scrape together before we left. And that's the, wagon train getting ready to pull out, and we're home. Okay, that ends. You've been to Ocracoke and back. It was a interesting group of fellas. Like I said, they were probably the youngest group that we've ever been with as far as the average age. And looking for a paper. Here it is. But I'll have to say this. We all had many good, I know I got a couple of boys over here that have been in our group, so I have to be careful what I say. We always had good groups of guys. We did. Every group was different. Their personalities different. They all blend together differently. And it's always kind of a challenge and all of that. But this group, my wife told them they were the best go-to-betters and getter-uppers. I absolutely had no problems with these boys. I mean, there was one group one time, one of the first groups, I didn't know what I was going to do with them for a while. But these guys were just super. I don't mind that they horse around a little bit. That's life. But these fellas, when it came 10 o'clock, I didn't have to tell them to go to bed. They went to bed. 10:30, the lights are out. 6 o'clock, when I went down the hall and knocked on the door, hey, they were up and they were on their way. I mean, they were just a good group of guys. And it made work really easy for us as far as that goes. All right, I told you I'd share with you some numbers. This is what I shared with the boys in our wrap-up meeting. The last evening we're together, we try to wrap everything up and let everybody share what their experience has been and some nuggets that they enjoyed and that kind of thing. And so I come up with this. I said, we've been together 27 days, and times 24 hours, that's 648 hours. In those hours, if we slept 8 hours, we slept 216 hours. And if we worked on the job for 8 hours a day, we had 152 hours on the job. And we spent 15 3/4 hours eating, 20 hours in class, and that leaves 260 hours. I don't know what they did. That was up to them. I didn't know what they did. In those 27 days, we worked 19 days on the job, and so that made 152 hours at 8 hours, and that's In that 152 hours, we accumulated 1,702 skilled man-hours. I had to keep track of what they considered skilled labor or unskilled labor. And some of that is kind of, okay, sweeping floor isn't skilled labor, okay? But, hanging siding and doing that kind of thing, that's skilled labor. So we kind of divided it up. And so out of that, we had 1,702 hours of skilled labor, and we had 74 and a quarter hours of unskilled labor, which is a total of 1,776 hours of man-hours that we had during that time. In that time, we finished Bill's house, we finished Ella's house, we trimmed out Della's house, we took Jenny's house from the pilings to drywall. That's electrical, plumbing, interior walls, everything was ready for drywall. And Lisa's house, we took it from the pilings to, it was ready for electrical and plumbing. When we left, the electrician and the plumber was beginning to work there, and they were starting to put siding on when we left. During this time, they packed their lunch 16 days, and so if you had 12 fellas, they packed 192 lunches. And they ate out 3 different Saturday evenings, 2 meals at Jason's and 1 at Diamond Shoals. They were served breakfast, 26 breakfasts, and 24 suppers plus snacks. 2 days lunches, one was the Mexican truck that came, or they bought their lunch. And the other one, we brought them home because we were getting backed up with leftovers. And we said, you all come home and we're going to have leftovers. And so that's what we did. So they didn't pack a lunch that day. They participated in 4 Sunday morning services, 4 evening singings, 7 evenings of training and a vocation, 4 spiritual training sessions, 4 evenings of games and sharing time, 2 house dedications, and 18 3/4 inches of rain. It was wet. But God was really good, though. Actually, you think about that. Most of that rain came during the night or on weekends. I think I could only remember maybe 2 or 3 days where they had to pull the guys off of outside work and put them inside for a short time until the rain passed over. So actually, we were really fortunate that it didn't really back us up on work very much at all. So anyway, that was our experience there, and it was a good experience, and thank you for your support in all of that. And I would just simply say this: the board had asked us 2 years ago what our future would look like as far as how long are we going to be doing this. And I said, that's anybody's guess. And I said, we're not going to be doing it forever. Trust me on that one. And we had a wrap-up meeting with the board just about a week ago. And we told the board that we're done. This was our last time on the project. It's just a lot of work. And so if you're full of ambition and you would like the challenge, the opportunity is yours. We decided that we're going to discontinue our involvement in the CASP project. I told him, I said, I'm not saying that I wouldn't come and visit the project, but I said to be responsible for it. Now, I said that needs to be handed over to younger people. Just a lot of work goes into it long before you get to the project. Trust me. Trust me on that. So, any questions?
You didn't tell us anything who all the boys were. Could you
Oh.
give us the names of all the boys?
Oh, my. Well, we had about 5 J's. We had, let's see, Justin Vanar from up north, Joshua Dean, Jocelyn Martin. There was Jeremiah Stauffer. Then there was Jared Wingard. Then there was Roxton Schrock. There was Wyatt Sadler from Pennsylvania. And then there was Jason Stahl from Michigan. There was Isaiah Bowman from Michigan. Sawyer Hirschberger from Middlefield, and Thomas Troyer from Light of Truth. I think that's all of them. Some of them knew each other from Bible school, and that scares me when they come there knowing each other. That's always, you're at kind of a disadvantage. But they really gelled together well, yeah. Yeah, I think that's, this Wyatt Sadler, had an opportunity to visit him. He come out of the Horning setting in Pennsylvania, and he wanted to go into some sort of service, but they have their own project, but it's only a week long, and he wanted to go longer. And so he, I guess he checked with Cam, and then Cam referred him to us. And he was an interesting character, and I liked him a lot. He was a good boy. Matter of fact, just a couple weeks ago, we happened to be down in that area, and we're able to connect with him, and he's doing well. It was a real good spiritual journey for him, coming out of his setting and everything. He told me, he said, I wanted to go home so bad. He said, 2 of his buddies brought him down there and dropped him off, and he said, when they left, he said, I wanted to go home with them so bad. But he was glad he stayed. He was glad he stayed. Okay, any other questions?
Picture of raising the house up
Mm-hmm.
on blocks. You said it's a normal thing. I'm just really curious, like, did they raise it for storms? Did they raise, like, obviously that's too much work to do. Why did they put it right back down?
Well, they raised them because of the flooding. You know, that one was right on the ground or just maybe 2 feet up. And so they raised that up about 4 feet. And so I think it varies a little bit. There was one house, we didn't have a picture of it. I have it on my phone, but I didn't even notice that. It was the Saturday. Troy's came down after we were done down there for the weekend, and then we took them over on Saturday. And I went by a house that I hadn't seen the whole time we were there. And that, I don't think I'm stretching it, but it had to been up, was it 15 feet? I mean, it was really high, and it was a huge house. I mean, this wasn't just a 2-bedroom bungalow. I mean, this was a 2-story house that they raised that high. It was just unbelievable. And, you know, just in being in the staff house on a windy night, that thing shakes. There's no question about it. I mean, you're not sure. But yeah, there was quite a bit of that. I mean, there was quite a bit of houses that were raised since Dorian. I mean, they went in there and raised them. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.